Hello, everybody. I'm so pleased to have Yasmin Rivera joining us today. She has also volunteered her time to come on and speak about her one-to-one coaching experience so that you guys can get a behind the scenes look into the decisions that led to joining, the decisions that led to booking the sessions, what was possible through the sessions, what she's created after the sessions. And I'm just so grateful. I was just explaining to her how I just think it's so valuable for so many of us that are like, I want this support, but is it really for me? Or will it definitely help me? Or when is the right time? Or any of that narrative for people to come on and be so willing to share their personal experiences. So thank you, Yasmin.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I love this opportunity of being able to share.
Yeah. So why don't we start with you telling us a little bit about like before I mean, you actually just told me that you first came across my work through Anna, who was on the podcast a few days ago, which is so
Yeah.
fun. But what led to the decision to sign up for one-to-one coaching? And was there ever like any kind of should I, shouldn't I, any kind of doubt around it?
Yes. So the first shoot was, well, I was already in a different one-on-one coaching program. Um, but what I liked about it is that I personally I still think of myself that I'm very good with time. Like I make lists, I calendar everything, and I do what I calendar, right? And I'm very organized. And so I decided, not decided, but when I read the description in your website, it mentions something about this is not another time management program. And then it listed a bunch of them, which I'm proud to have taken and put into practice. And I feel like I've been very successful at that. And so it said it's about one of the things was debunking the belief that things take time. And I was like, okay, it looks like this is beyond what I know and I want in. So I was curious about that. But also, the reason for the one-on-one coaching for me was that I knew that I was good at time, but I also felt like maybe the reason I'm that good is because I'm not looking into other areas of my life that I've been putting aside, like goals that I've been having for a decade that I haven't achieved because I thought it takes time.
Mhm.
And so one with the one-on-one session, it helps me have someone. So I did decided to focus on what I wanted, my goal, changing careers.
Yeah.
And having the one-on-one session helped me have someone assist me in looking at my thoughts, looking at, okay, what am I believing? Because if you ask me, so why haven't you changed careers? Well, because I don't know. My brain says I don't know, but in reality, the thing was I'm playing small, or I've been playing small because I'm afraid that if I achieve what I want, it means compromising the way I am. It means more work,
Mhm.
longer hours, more responsibility, and I'm pretty comfortable in my discomfort, sort of saying right now. uh, so that's one of the things that helped me, especially in my first session, my very first session with a one-on-one coach from Time Hackers. I felt liberated, and my coach helped me give myself permission to do the things my way, because I was feeling like if I want to be successful in my goals, then that means I have to be part of the capitalist system. I have to, yeah, do all of these beliefs that we grow up thinking that are bad. And so we're working actually on those beliefs and dismantling those beliefs that it's bad to, for example, charge money or have a business, or all of those beliefs that I didn't even know I had because I've been living in it for such a long time.
Wow.
Um,
Yes. I think that's so firstly, I love the sharing of what you shared right in the beginning about how you are amazing with time and time boxing and time blocking. Because while we don't teach those things, we also don't teach against those things, right? We're not going to change anything that works. And maybe that's very relevant for some people listening that are like, well, I'm really good at managing my time. And it's kind of like, that's not what we're going to teach you. That's not what our expertise is. And whatever you're really good at, we're never going to make you change. And then I love that you use the word liberated, like liberation, like it's such a powerful word. And I think it's like we're liberated from our own brain, but like what you were saying in your very first session, because it doesn't take time,
Uh-huh. Right.
right? So in your very first session, you were able to like separate yourself from the words that go on repeat in our brain, which is, and I love how you shared the number one reason that your brain was offering was like, I don't know, we just can't change. I don't know why, because it's kind of like, our brains are wired to avoid change. And if it doesn't give us the reason, then we can't get to work solving it. So we just stay in, I call it I don't know land, and we can never get to the root. And I think you're absolutely right in that, like a session with a one-on-one coach, when you are actually asked the question and you have a safe environment and a supporter and a professional coach that is able to be like, probably like if you had to guess why, they just have certain skills and tools that they can use to uncover what's underneath that I don't know. But then you get to face and be like, oh, these aren't even my beliefs. Like, I don't actually think this is true. Like, this is what's stopping me. It's not even my intentional narrative. So I just love that you shared already the value from a single session, because I also don't want people to come into this program and with the brains that we've been conditioned with to think, oh, I have to finish all 6 sessions before I get value. So thank you for that.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. And so I think it's very helpful. Like I always compare it to like a fish looking for water. They don't even know they're in the water because it's where they were born. So having the help from a coach who doesn't judge me, because that's so amazing. Like I can just come up as myself, just show up as myself and hey, as ridiculous as it sounds, this is my problem. And in the end, it's like, well, you're a human being. You're not the only one, and 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 it's normal. So let's get to work. Let's find out why. Where is this coming from? What thoughts are you having? And knowing that now I have the option to believe or not those thoughts, and so it it actually like propels me to start working towards my goal.
Wow,
So
that's
it doesn't no longer feel like it's a dread. Like, oh
yeah.
yeah, I have to do it because I want to get approval from society or from my friends or family. And now I do it because I want to, and I'm doing it my way, and it feels good.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the feeling, like achieving, like that. This is how I want to feel good achieving my goal, working
Yes, I
towards
want to achieve my goal without sacrificing how I feel, without sacrificing my sanity, without sacrificing my
sanity.
kindness, without sacrificing liking myself or being nice to myself. And you just shared it there. And I think it's such an important point for people to know. When we train our coaches, one of the key things that we train them in, and they're already this way inclined, I do tend to think we attract amazing people as well, but is really having that compassion and really seeing the best in humans. And I do think there's a difference between, having a chat with a friend and having a chat with a coach that's been trained and also understands that this call is specifically a coaching call. And I'll even give you an example. Like one of my best friends, like for years, she's like changed her career. She wants to do this. She wants to, like, every time we speak, and it's like, I'm just so not a coach with her. I recommend coaching to her all the time, but like, I am not a coach with her. I am not unbiased. I am not unjudgmental. I'm like, listen, like this is what you need to do, or so, like whatever it is. It's just such a good example for me of like your friends, your peers, your family, like they can love you so much, but they just don't have the skill of coaching that is required and that is brought to you when you work with a coach. And that's not to say that you should only be speaking to coaches about your personal thing, but it is just a very unique dynamic and conversation like you're talking to.
Yes. Yes, and it's not about doing things like the way you're expected to. It's and with all of these questions that I get from the coach and compassion, as you said, compassion of, hey, just like being compassionate with myself with how I feel. It's okay to feel the way I feel and not feeling or beating myself up for not being a certain way or doing the things a certain way. It just gives me that permission of doing things my way. And um,
That's it completely. If I could sum up time hacking in one sentence, it's how can we support you so that you feel confident enough to do things your way? Because when we do things according to someone else's timelines or someone else's method, what we're slowly doing is saying, my opinion doesn't count, my knowledge doesn't count, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not the authority on my life. I'm not the expert. And it shrinks us smaller and smaller and smaller. And then from that small place, we're like, oh, I have this goal of changing careers. And the brain's like, well, who are you to change careers? You've been listening to everyone else has been the expert, not you. And it's such a hard, but not impossible place to come out of. So thank you for sharing that. I think that is it. How can we support you to make the decisions, the best decisions for you? Right. Even when we
yeah,
work with companies, we do not go in and say this is how your people should be working. We go in and say how can we facilitate your leaders and managers to make the decisions for how their team should be working, because they know their people better than us,
yeah,
right?
that's true. That's true. Like accessing my own wisdom
Yes.
and dismantling that belief that I have to do things a certain way. And it's the
Right.
only way. I, one of the things I recognize is like in coaching is like nobody likes to be told what to do. So that is
Mhm.
something I also appreciate from my coach, that they don't tell me what to do. They help me identify how I prefer to do things, what
Yeah.
makes me feel good, what feels good to me. Yeah.
Yes. Because what feels good to you is going to be what you continue are. So even if someone is like, oh, it's going to be way quicker to, you know, I don't know, like I'm just trying to think about my business. If someone was like, oh, it's going to be way quicker um to like do TikTok, right? I don't do TikTok. We're thinking about maybe doing it, but I don't do TikTok right now. And someone might be like, it's going to be way quicker to reach more people with TikTok. It's like, great. But what's going to happen is what happened, which is I did TikTok for like 2, 3 weeks. Then I was like, I don't know if this is for me. So why even do it that way, right? Like we want to connect with our why behind doing something. And there is no better why than because this is fun. Because what is fun, what we feel like we are choosing to do is what continues. And it doesn't matter how great someone else's strategy is. If we don't want to do it, we are going to, I speak a lot about being in the quicksand. We are going to be in the quicksand, like drudging our way to try and get out, but sinking further with every move because it's impossible to do something and at the same time tell yourself you don't want to do it. It's not impossible, but it is going to be the biggest resource drain of your time, energy, confidence, and self-trust.
Yes. Yes. Totally.
So what like evolved for you as you were in the one-to-one program? Like what changed for you?
So I think the biggest transformation has been giving myself permission to be as I am. Like
Mm.
not, which means to me means not beating myself up for not achieving a goal, for not feeling a certain way, for not being focused enough. And just I just feel that I'm more compassionate with myself, in the day to day. So then
Mm.
also like observing when those thoughts come to my brain, to my mind during the day, like, hey, you should be doing more, or you should be working harder, you should be staying online so that they see that you are working, right? So it's more about being true to myself. So it means to me like listening to myself. And so pausing. And so one of the teachings that stuck with me from my coach is like when you slow down, things start happening faster. I love that. I love that. And I'm willing to believe that so hard. um, so I'm in that process of listening to myself. How am I feeling? What do I need? Making sure that I'm listening to what I need, what I want, how I want to do things.
Mm.
Um, which I feel is more valuable than just achieving goals here and there and wanting more all the time. Doesn't mean so now I don't feel like I'm playing small. I feel like I'm ready to play bigger. But it's
Mm.
there's no competition, there's no rush. So
Mm.
let's take it step by step. And also, when I mean no rush, it's the brain telling you that you haven't achieved enough, especially as a woman, right? But if I take a look at what I have achieved, I feel I have achieved a lot.
Yeah.
Um, and yes, I think I want a transformation. I want to continue evolving, and so that's why I have my goals. But not now that it switched from wanting to achieve just because of you have to, society tells you to, but because I really want to, because I feel that what I'm gonna do is gonna help. It doesn't matter, no, like help other people, help myself in many ways. Right?
Yes, I love that so much. How was that like? So because so often we think like, oh, if I'm kind to myself, if I don't pressure myself, if I don't rush, that means I'm going to achieve less. So I'd love for you to share with people like what has actually changed in terms of how you approach your work and your goals and your day to day, and even your when you're planning your week, and like what's actually changed um in applying what you've learned through the program.
hmm So what have changed is the way I approach things. Like if I'm working towards my goal, I'm just if I have a negative thought or something that tells me, hey, but you should be doing more. It's just like acknowledging the thought, like, okay, that's my brain telling me what it's used to
Yeah.
believe in. That's fine. So I just continue to focus and don't not pay much attention to it, and and practicing more thoughts around. I'm learning to do uh, this or that. I'm willing or I'm open to um, creating
Yeah.
this new goal.
Yes. And I love that you use the word focus, right? It's like our brain, we think the like shoulding and the judging and the criticism is useful. But what it does is it distracts us so that we're not focused on the work that we are doing that is directly supporting what we want to be achieving. And it pulls us away and distracts us. And actually, when we are kind of like on the same team as our brain or less reactive, when the brain's like stomping its foot and like, what we're able to do is just be like, okay, you can be there, but I'm still going to focus. And I think that's how actually what we think in terms of like actually slowing down is going to cost me my goals, or being more present is going to cost me my goals, or not having the pressure is going to cost me my goals. I think what you're sharing and my experience too is that's how you achieve the goals. Right? Like you achieve the goals when you stop being mean to yourself. You achieve the goals when you have compassion for your brain and how it's been socialized and how it evolved. You achieve the goals where you stop making the way that you work not enough, not committed enough, not long enough, not hard enough. I think that's interestingly how we end up achieving more faster because, like your coach said to you, it feels like you're slowing down, but really you're turning the volume down on the unhelpful narrative that actually does slow you down.
Yes, yes. So now that you mentioned, there were a lot of times where I had a lot of shoulds. You should do this, you should do that, right? And so just knowing that those thoughts may be still there, like the way to my goal is not going to be perfect, and that's exactly the road. That's another belief, right? That everything should be perfect. I shouldn't have a full-time job. I shouldn't have side hustles, or I should, right?
Yeah.
And so I just like being aware of those thoughts it helps. It's part of the slowing down, so that I can then go back and focus on what I do want to think and do.
Yeah. And then we're not reactive to the, I can imagine I was speaking with someone else about this in a different context, but like when it's like, oh, I shouldn't have a side gig with my full-time job, then that means when I'm in the side gig, I'm really thinking, I shouldn't be doing this, so I'm feeling guilty. When I'm in my job, I'm thinking, I wish I was doing more of my side gig, so therefore I'm feeling guilty. And we create kind of this lose-lose dynamic where no matter what we're doing, we can't be present because we've made things that we are doing wrong. And the moment we should ourselves, we kick ourselves out of the present and we immediately require, it's just more taxing on our brain to be managing what's right in front of us, along with the guilt and the shoulds and the judgment and the criticism. And it's like, how can we be creative? How can we be innovative? How can we be responsive and present with all of that narrative? And what becomes available when we like are able to turn down the volume and clear down that narrative is I think higher innovation, higher creativity, higher connection to our work, higher connection to ourselves, higher connection to our community. And the benefits of that is like, for sure, you'll achieve your goal faster. But I loved what you said earlier, which is like, you'll achieve your goal in a way you want to and enjoy the process. And I think so many people listening are like, is that even possible? I thought goals required sacrifice. And what you're saying is true. It's like, no, goals, we have to stop this narrative that it requires sacrifice and meanness and pressure and stress. And like, it's so powerful to hear you sharing about just enjoying the process and it's like you're not waiting to enjoy, you know,
the end.
the end, which is like a second. Whenever, and anyone listening, and maybe you've had this experience as well, like when you're going towards a goal and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing, it's gonna be so great. The moment you hit the goal, your brain is like, what else?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like a second. So the ability to enjoy the process and how that supports you in achieving the goal, I think will be mind-blowing for a lot of people listening. And I just love that you shared that and how it ties in with your experience with our coaches.
Yeah.
Amazing. So before I close off, is there anything you want to say to anyone listening that's maybe like, I'm thinking about it, or maybe one day, or I'm, like I'd like to, but like, is there anything that you would say to anyone who's like, maybe, I could be interested, but I'm not sure?
Yeah. So I always like evaluate what am I going to learn from this? And even I, who thought I knew everything about time management, and this is a completely different program where it's just about you. It's not longer about time or being approved or doing things a certain way. It's about listening to yourself and slowing down to achieve more.
Yes, I love it so much. And it's so, powerful because the difference between our most and least productive days is not time. Time is the same in those days. It's us. And a big part of time hacking is about taking the responsibility and taking the credit and realizing how powerful we are next to time and stopping, this external thing. Like we love and we value our time, we know how we use our time is the number one indicator of results, but it's how we use our time, not the time, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you giving your time, and everyone listening, appreciating Yasmin for giving her time, and appreciate you for listening, and just really encouraging you to jump onto the one-to-one coaching program and get the support that will help you use your time better, because you are far more capable than your brain will let you realize, and you are worthy of enjoying the process and not just, you know, punishing yourself or pushing yourself to get to an end result. And I love what Yasmin shared about it, and that's been her experience. I also want to invite you to work with Yasmin. Yasmin is also a coach, and we are going to leave a link to her calendar in the show notes if you do want to find out more about working with her. Is there anything you want to say about your coaching?
So it will be a session to help explore your thoughts, anything that it's on your mind, big or small. I often find that even the small things when we work them out, it could be mind blowing, and help you through even bigger things. So yeah, totally feel free to connect with me and we'll have a chat. And I would love to talk to you.
Amazing. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, everybody, for listening. All the links will be in the show notes. Get coached, get supported. You are worth it. You are valuable. Your time is valuable. This is just a skill that you've never been taught. Let us help you. That's it from us. Bye.